my recruitment experience is mostly based out of the US. So I've been in the space for 11 years. I started in really low level, generic, do anything type recruiting in Northampton, in my hometown, hence the name Hampton North. And kind of got the feeling that at an early age that everything that was happening that was good in recruitment actually happened in London. So made the decision to go get a job in London. Worked for, at the time, an SAP recruitment provider, being a contract recruiter. Did that for a couple of years, joined another business. I was super interested in another ERP company. And in 2014, they gave me the opportunity to go to the United States, go to New York, which was awesome. A 24-year-old, like, world is my oyster, was just one of the best opportunities for me. Had some really good success there, enjoyed that. Kind of fell a little bit out of love with the grad model that they were employing, which is fairly commonplace in UK recruitment practices. And so joined a company called Start in May, which is really where I would say my career moved forward at a really aggressive rate. And so I joined there to work in their cybersecurity practice. I was working with I joined a really impressive 7-figure biller and quickly realized, some of the opportunities that were available to me. So had an exceptional time there. I was there for 5 years, highest individual contributor in company history in the US, most promoted person in history, helped set their California offering, ran a 7-figure EBIT team. Had a great amount of success there, really enjoyed it. I kind of ran out of growth, found myself, I got as high as I could fly, and, it kind of felt like there was things, you get as high as you can, and there's things that you want to change that, ultimately I wanted to do things my way. I've always wanted that. I think I never thought it would be in my own business, but, got as high as I could there, had a ton of success. And I think probably around a year ago came to the realization that to create true change and do the things the way I want to do it, I had to put my money where my mouth was and, put my name on something and go out and own it.
Okay, so you said it was about a year ago that you started thinking about setting up your own business. Was that kind of like an aha moment, or was that a growing feeling that you had throughout your career?
So I don't think it was something that I ever thought about, probably up until maybe a year or two ago. And what's interesting is other people, even to the point where my former CEO said there is, I would probably be shocked if you never did this, but it wasn't something at the time that I was really thinking about. And then, you get to a certain point where you create a brand for yourself in the industry, and mine is cybersecurity, where, I think, okay, maybe I can do this, and maybe I can create the runway. So I don't think I grew up entrepreneurial. Maybe I did, but I don't think I grew up. Some people are born and want to be their own boss. They're just made for that, and that wasn't me. I think it gradually came to me, and then my wife is a great sounding board for me, and we got to the point where we were like, this just makes so much sense for you. And you're never truly going to be happy until you go out and do this. And so I think we got to that point. At that point, my wife became pregnant, so we didn't make that jump at the same time. We wanted to go through that process, and be ready. So that's probably why we didn't do it at the time. But I think, probably the last 6 months, it was really aggressively like, I need to do this. But 12 months ago, I was like, okay, I think for me to create the future for me that I really want to create, I think it is ownership.
And what were the first steps that you took in the journey to becoming a business owner?
Having a conversation with my wife that we weren't going to make any money for a little while, and she needed to be okay with that. So before I engaged anyone, I have a very close personal circle. I have really, super successful friends that are super professional that I wanted to get their advice. So at that point, their advice to me was, maybe it's where you're at, and maybe you should talk to a couple of other companies to see, to have a look and say, maybe it's your environment and you can go and grow in another environment. So my next steps were, okay, I spoke to a couple of other firms, realized that I was going to run into the same issue that I had at my previous company, which is you don't have as much control as you want unless you are at the wheel, right? So made that decision, was introduced to Edmund. We had a conversation, and it was a while ago, and I liked what I heard. There's certain things that I was looking for, as somebody coming on board, but I wanted to go and do some due diligence. I wanted to go kick some tires, speak to a couple of other folks, both in the industry, and then speak to some. I had investors from all strange parts of the world, the Middle East, Israel, everywhere, wanting to invest in me, and so kicked some tires on some of those discussions. And ultimately landed, made the decision that there were two routes I was going to go down. And one was I was going to go it solo and figure it out on my own and really just do everything. And the other was to bring RecruitHub on as a partner. I did a cost benefit analysis of both, and working with RecruitHub made a ton of sense. But I was fairly thorough in the process. And for me, it was RecruitHub or solo. There was nobody that I spoke to on my end that made sense to partner up with. And there's a few reasons behind that I'm happy to dive into.
So how has what you've achieved compared with the expectations you had when you first started?
So it's been a couple of months, and highs, lows, and everything in between. I think the first thing to say is, like, this sounds like so deep, but it's nice to feel and be emotional again. I got into such a repetitive state of my previous business. It was like, hey, we closed a 70 grand deal, great, like done that before. Hey, so and so got promoted, great, seen that before. Hey, we just bought this new client, and deals drop out, and you become very flat to it. And there's some pros to that, right? But I've experienced some highs, like I was invoicing in my first couple of weeks, and that felt amazing, right? I was super pumped because I was, when I first looked at this, I was like, hey, I might not make any money this year, and that's okay. I've got the runway, and then bang, week one, invoice goes out. Like, life is great. So, but then, I had a fairly big opportunity fall through, and I was like, wow, like I haven't been that disappointed in a long time. So it definitely heightens the emotions, but it's so much fun, right? Like, I love being in the grind. I love doing this. I love recruiting. I love being a recruiter. I want to grow and scale this business, but this is not a skill set I want to lose. So it's so fun to be controlling that destiny again and being really hands-on. But I've enjoyed the experience. I've loved speaking to other founders who are going through the same things, but you get off one call and this is the best thing ever, and you're planning your next 12 months, and then you get off one call and you're like, wow, that was a slap in the face that I wasn't expecting. So the emotions are heightened, but I would not trade this for the world. This feeling of being back in and really in control of the wheel, like, again, coming from where I was, where look, everything was fairly easy for a couple of years. COVID was the only real struggle that I've had in my career for 5 years. Everything else has been fairly plain sailing. So having to tackle new challenges, like, I thrive in that. So I've really enjoyed it.
And did you have any concerns around moving from employee to business owner? What kind of role did RecruitHub play in helping you overcome those worries?
I think my biggest concern was around, so not actually, I didn't have a ton of concerns. Like, I really did back myself. I think what I wanted from RecruitHub is, I didn't want to lose 3 months getting stuff set up, speaking to particularly in the US, where there is a ton of paperwork. There is, you file the wrong form, you could get fined a ton of money. Setting up software, etc. I didn't want to spend that time. I think, look, it's nice to have a paycheck, but you don't need, like, the overheads are so low, and I was cognizant that I put enough money away to not make any money for 6 months. I've already done that. I've already taken money out of the business a couple of months in, which is amazing. And again, I did not expect to do that. But I think the biggest concern for me was getting some processes in place to allow for when I hire people, for it to be, that I could replicate that within other folks. And the second biggest thing for me was, I've done a very good job creating a brand of who I am, but that doesn't translate into a great business. And so what Edmund and the team have really helped me with is making it about the brand, not making it about me, so that anyone that joins Hampton North can come in and have, immediate plug and play success. So I think that was my biggest fear, is how do I not make this about me? And that's something that I'm still working on and still want to continue to improve on a daily basis. But the RecruitHub have been super helpful with me on.
And what initially attracted you to RecruitHub? I know you mentioned you were looking at another firm as well. So what were the key reasons why you launched on RecruitHub?
Yeah, so one is, look, I'm a well-networked recruiter, and there are brands that I know and recognize and respect that are on the platform. So I did that due diligence. I think Edmund's experience as somebody who has done this in the United States, right? There are plenty of competitors in this space that have only done the UK and speak theoretically about growing businesses in the United States, but haven't done it. And there is so many different nuances to being in the United States versus growing a business in the UK that does business in the United States. So that was super useful for me. I think the biggest thing for me was there is an allowance for me to run a business in a way that is very different to what I think is the typical hire junior recruiters, scale aggressively, go big. I outlined my vision, which is I don't want to take over the world. I want to have a really premium brand. I'm probably going to pay recruiters more than everybody else, at least in my industry. And we did some financial modeling, and that was super useful to kind of see it in real time. I have a good mind for numbers, but seeing things in reality definitely helps me. So having that, there isn't one way to run a recruitment business, and the way that you're doing it makes sense, but here are some of the pitfalls that you might come across versus, no, the best way is to get in an office, hire 20 grads, and hope that 8 of them stick and you will run an X profit rate, or, hey, you need a massive contract book if you want to sell your business. For me, they are potential plans down the line, but I want this business to grow with the infinite mindset of, I'm not looking at an exit straight away. I want to create a really premium brand, and that's super important for me. And to do that, I have to hire the best, and it is going to cost money, but here's what I think I can do there. I think Edmund's pragmatism around doing that, as well as his knowledge in the United States, stood miles apart from, here's our playbook, run with it and you'll be fine. That wasn't what I was looking for.
Amazing. And moving from employee to entrepreneur is obviously a learning curve in so many ways. How have you adjusted to the freedom of setting your own agenda, managing your own time, etc.?
So the one positive is I get to do bath time with my daughter every night, and there is no way that anyone can book any time in that calendar. Sometimes I would say in the first month, sometimes I felt a little bit lost. But the one thing that I had a bit of an epiphany probably 4 or 5 weeks in is that I have so much time. I look back as an employee and I probably wasted 15 to 20 hours a week in meetings that were not relevant, right? And I can guarantee that there are so many recruitment businesses that are talking about their next BD sprint or talking about a client that could have been an email or could have been, and then they waste so much time. And some of that is great in the relationship building and a lot that comes with that. But if I look at it, I was probably spending 30 to 40% of my time in meetings that could be emails, or I just got meeting fatigue. So for me, there was wow, I have so much time and I can achieve so much more. And I appreciate and I enjoy that freedom, and sometimes it means, I can get out for an afternoon, spend some time with my daughter, and I open my laptop at 9 p.m. and do what I need to do. But, ultimately that freedom is something that I wasn't in a firm structure before, which I really appreciated, but this is a whole new level. And I think for someone like me who, I have a young family, and I feel like there's a lot of founders, particularly early on, look, growing a business is hard, and it's not, I'm not going to be able to work 5-hour work week is a myth, particularly in our industry. So I know I'm going to have to do a lot of hours, but I'm not going to have to do it at the detriment of, raising my family, spending time with my wife, missing social events. I can do that and grow a business with freedom, and I'm not letting anybody down other than myself and, potentially clients and candidates, but I make time for them.
And I know you mentioned you kind of have a different vision for your business, growing a bit slower maybe, but as a business owner, are there aspects of the culture you're building that you're really excited about, breaking with your own experience as an employee?
I look at the team that I built at my previous business, and they were the best. They were the best in the company, right? The profitability, top billers, 7 figure, like they were fantastic. And I think one of the things that I found frustrating is like that was a DNA that kind of, and then there was an overall company DNA that slowed them down, and their exceptional nature sometimes got dragged down by people that weren't as good as them because of teams are ran differently. And I understand that, right? In a big business, not every business can perform at the same level. I am super excited about building an adult, high performing, really hyper focused culture here. Look, we have fun, and we'll get together. It's a remote first business, but I've always felt really connected. I still hear from my old team, people that moved on from the business, and will always create connections with people I work with. But I'm super excited to create the best security recruiting team in the industry. Like I truly believe I can do that. It probably won't be the biggest, but I look around at some of the people who are industry leaders in my space that want to be part of this. I've connected with some of the best recruiters, and we're talking about timing and bringing them on. So I am super excited to be, for the industry, the cybersecurity industry, to go, wow, like Stuart is not messing around here. He's getting the best person from this company, the best person from this company, and owning that. And that to me, like that gets me pumped, because all the people there are going to be, I want to hire people that are better than me. Like, and I hold myself to a really high standard. But my first person is coming on in 2 weeks. He absolutely has the tools to be better than me, and probably will be, and that's amazing. And that's the expectation of hiring people that are just great. And I get super pumped when I'm working with exceptional people.
And as you kind of slowly start to grow, having hires and stuff, what are your plans for the next 12 months?
The first round of hiring to any business is so important, right? These people are the fabric, they're the DNA of the business. And, I look at these people who they're going to be, they're going to spread my word, and both to the cybersecurity industry and to the recruiting community. So it's super important that I get these right. I have really aggressive financial goals. Edmund is again very pragmatic with me that if I miss them, we're still good, but I have really aggressive goals financially. But I want 5 people, 5 really senior or principal or above, to be working with us this time next year in the United States. I think that will allow a really good template for us to sit down. And I want to, sit down with the leaders of this business and decide, okay, what's next? I think one of the things, I look at certain early stage businesses and they're like, here's our 5-year goal. And I'm like, get the foundational pieces in, then bring people together to create that vision. I might be thinking too small, right? Like I might bring 5 exceptional people to this business, and then we sit down in a year from now, wherever it is, on a beach somewhere, probably somewhere really nice, because why not? We sit down and they're like, wow, we can get this to 50 in 2 years, and we can hire these people, and here are the 10 accounts that we want, and this will allow for it. And I'm like, you know what, run with it. I'll get out your way and I'll do the stuff in the background. But I want, for me, my first plan A, 5 people who I just hire great and get out of the way, because that's, I've been fairly, I don't want to say lucky because it isn't that, but I'm a good hirer. I've done well with the people I've hired. And so that's something that I want to bring with me. I feel really confident that I can get great people to the team that can create the vision. And, obviously there's certain things that I want to run it my way, but I also don't want people who are end up in the same situation that I was in at my previous company, where they couldn't create change because things were always done in a certain way. So that's something that I'm super cognizant of. I would like it to be big. The team might want it to be bigger.
That sounds like you've got a very good plan ahead of you.
Fingers, call me in a year. We'll see where we are.
Yeah, we'll have a look in a year. One final question for you. What advice would you give to ambitious, talented recruiters who are exploring the option of launching independently?
So there's a couple of things. The first one is the old Japanese proverb, which was the best time to plant an oak tree was 20 years ago. The second time is today. One of the things, I regret not doing this sooner. If I'm candid, I regret not doing this sooner. And, I'm happy with how things are going, but if I'd have done this 2 years ago, I was probably ready 18 months ago, 2 years ago. So do it. It's a fairly low risk situation. If you're an exceptional recruiter, back yourself, right? Like, you have been good. You're probably compensated really well because you're great. But the longer you wait, the more opportunity cost is going to go away, because, and this is the thing that I calculated, is if I stayed for another year or another year or another year, the opportunity cost dwindles, because you're diluting your special gift to other people within your business, your client base. Everyone else is getting access to that. So 100% do it. You probably need less money than you think. You're probably more prepared than you think. And some of the things that bigger agencies make it sound so difficult, they make sending an invoice sound like a 2-day process. It is a click of a button. Honestly, you have access to some of the best tools, probably better than you're using today. It is inexpensive, and you will get rolling sooner than you think. I've no doubt there's plenty of agency recruiters who have had drunk conversation with their peers of, we should do it. Do it. You will not regret it. I haven't met a recruitment founder that has yet.
Yeah, amazing. Well, thank you so much for chatting with me.
Thanks for having me on.